Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next question or comment comes from Davzart in response to listen to the classic sounds of the cards of the Korg M1, a video I did in August 2020. Actually, I redid the video in August 2020 because a number of people have said that I hadn't loaded, and I didn't actually do a data dump from the card to the internal memory, so things were slightly off. Still sounded quite good, but it's still slightly off. Anyway, Davzart says, where can I find the original cards for the Korg M1 and how many were that were originally listed? And the problem you have with cards for all these legacy synthesizers is they haven't been sold for over 30 years. So you're basically looking at the second-hand market, and the reality is they do come up on eBay and Reverb fairly frequently. Popular sets are the 05 piano and 09 organ. People tend to hang on to those ones if they can get hold of them. But there are, in essence, there are 16 sets of dual cards. And for those to work properly, you actually need both cards. A lot of people are selling one or other. You can't work with one or other. You need both cards because one contains the PCM data and one contains the sequencing and other stuff. So you need both cards. And the other thing is, don't get fooled into buying cards for the M3R because they don't work correctly on the M1. Despite what sellers may claim, they don't work honestly. In addition to the 16 dual sets, there's 3 single cards and the factory restore card, and then a bunch of other companies like SoundSource and I can't think of any others off the top of my head, also made tone cards for the Korg M1. So there's a number of things around, but you're looking at the second-hand market to get hold of these things, and also beware that some of these cards that are being flogged on the second-hand market don't actually work. So you may get a card and it'll be duff. Just putting that warning out there. Okay, this next comment comes from Stephen Templar, and it's in response to another Behringer announcement and the 4th Jupiter upgrade this year, a video I did in summer 2021. I haven't written down exactly when. Naughty me. And Stephen writes, I'm still holding my breath for the Behringer Prophet 600 clone. They seem to have forgotten about this as it was announced a couple of years ago. And that's really interesting. Basically, I've completely forgotten that Behringer had announced that they were doing some work on a Prophet 600 clone. But what I see is a whole raft of synths that Behringer have kind of teased us with and said they're in the skunk works and will slowly make their way to market. I suspect now that they've actually nailed the ARM technology that they've really been talking about recently, a number of the missing pieces for this sort of reimagination cloning technology is in place now for them to sort of reimagine these synths. We know the Roland ACB technology had limitations, and it was almost hit the end of the road with the System 8. The System 8, they said, was almost as far as they could take the ACB technology. Now they have kind of moved that on a bit, and it's slightly different now, but you know, the reason why they sort of started going down the whole sort of Zen core route, if you like, was because of the limitations of the ACB technology that they had developed. Whether they're going to develop something very similar to the ARM technology, now that really is an interesting concept, and whether that will apply to sort of the continued range of boutiques. Now, since I wrote this answer back to Stephen, of course we've had another 2 boutiques launch, being the JD08 and the JX08. But they're all based on the same technology that all the boutiques have been based on up until this point. What I have seen from the various snippets that have been released to the market is that the Behringer ARM technology seems to be far more robust in terms of its capabilities, and it has been demonstrated on the snippets that we've been allowed to see on them testing the UBXA. So I guess it's kind of watch this space really in terms of what is going to come next from the skunkworks. I'm kind of hoping the UBXA is getting close, but I don't think the global chip shortage is really helping any of the manufacturers at the moment in terms of releasing product to market, because you're not going to release product to market unless you can guarantee that you can do a minimum viable production run. What do I mean by that? Well, they have to be able to sell enough units to cover the startup, the tooling, the R&D costs, and make some money, so they will have a minimal viable run. And if they can't get the chips to make a minimal viable run, the reality is they won't do it. So I think there's a number of things that all the big manufacturers are kind of holding back on at the moment. There's a couple of my personal favourites that I'm not going to discuss here, but I think we will start, as the chip market starts to open up again and the factories out in the Far East are being less affected by the whole sort of COVID pandemic thing. I think a number of new devices are going to start working their way into the market space, and I suspect probably around summertime this year we'll start to see those announcements on the social media platforms from the manufacturers. And maybe the 600 is near the top of the tree, maybe it's not. I kind of think the UBXA is going to be one of the first out of the Behringer stable, purely because we've seen a lot of videos of people playing units that have been sent out for testing and demonstration. So I think that's going to probably be one of the first that hits the market. What comes next, who knows?